I'm Joe Duffy for Picks and Parlays. I'm going to take a look at one of the biggest games of the week. Vanderbilt and Alabama. Is Vanderbilt for real? Actually, you might even ask, is Alabama for real? I'll take a look at some betting splits, power ratings, all kinds of metrics. We'll take a look at the opening line. We'll take a look at the best available lines. Take a look at the look-ahead line, and there's going to be a big difference between what the look-ahead line was and the current line. You can probably guess who that would favor or which direction it's going to go. Of course, I will have a free pick for you. Tons and tons of super systems and other metrics, even some power ratings from some of the best power ratings that I use in computer simulators, etc. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Feel free to ask me any question. And again, I've got the best computer software in the world. Do you want me to look up a system not just in college football and not just in the NFL? Remember, the NBA is right around the corner, and then college basketball, that's only 2 blocks away. And I got fantastic systems in both. So why don't you go right now to Picks and Parlays? Sign up for a long-term package. Maybe you only bet NBA. That's fine. I have all kinds of NBA metrics that have worked for me for years and years and years. Maybe only bet college basketball. Got them too. Joe Duffy's Picks at Picks and Parlays. Right when you're done with this video, make sure you go over and lock into a long-term package. All right, taking a look at this, the opener was Alabama minus 13.5 and 58. The look-ahead line that you could have bet in advance, Alabama was 22.5 and 51.5. All right, the best lines available at Odds Logic. I love Odds Logic for a couple reasons. Number one, they have the best place to shop for lines. And like I said, line shopping is important whether you're a professional gambler betting $1,000 a game, whether you're a casual gambler betting a $20 14 parlay. Always want to shop for the best line possible, and that's where Odds Logic comes in. Also, you can get the betting splits, which I'm going to talk about. Betting splits are very valuable. Different people use them slightly different ways, but the general rule of thumb is most of us do like to go against the public. And one of these days, I'm going to mix in a video specifically saying how I have found that with all my years in the business, been doing this since 1988, but as far as technology is concerned, really have had great access to public betting data for maybe about the last 12, 15 years, something like that. And there is definitely a science behind it, and maybe we'll talk about that sometime in the very near future. And they also give you late-breaking weather reports, injury reports, and more. You gotta visit Odds Logic. It is a must if you are a big-time gambler. So the best available line is Alabama minus 10.5, minus 110. Vanderbilt plus 10.5, minus 105. Getting a little bit ahead of myself with the Alabama-Auburn game, I guess. The best totals over 56.5 is minus 110. Under 56.5, you can get it for minus 105. All right, the splits on the side, 85% of the tickets and 90% of the cash is on Roll Tide. The splits on the total, 77% of the bets, 76% of the money is on the over. Again, not maybe a big surprise because the public does tend to like to bet on big favorites, and they do tend to lean towards overs. The sample size isn't quite as big. If you subscribe to Odds Logic, as you get closer to game time, the sample size is going to be a lot larger and maybe a little bit more statistically significant. But for the most part, these do hold up. Maybe not in as high percentage, but what direction the public is betting usually does hold up as the week goes on. Now, Alabama comes into this game 3-1 ATS, covering by an average of 5.8 points per game. Vanderbilt, what a surprise they've been. They're 4-1 versus the number this year, covering by a stunning 15.3 points per game. That is second in the country. They're tied with Old Dominion, but just 0.1 points behind Louisiana Tech. So Vanderbilt has been one of the top cover teams in the country. They've been one of the biggest surprises, bar none. Over-under records. Bama's going over 3-1 this year, going over by an average of 5.5 points per game. Vanderbilt's going over at a 3-2 rate, but over by 15.3 points per game, which is number 6 in the country when we're talking about the margin, how much they're going over the total by. They are the number 6 team in the country. Some intangibles in this game. Obviously, Alabama, really tough spot. Big letdown game. Huge win last week against Georgia. They continue to dominate Georgia. I mean, Kellen DeBoer, he does not lose big games, does he? Alabama's got the best big game coach in the country. Well, at least as of now, unless he blows this game. Now, some might say, well, actually it is true. This is a year where the Commodores, they have a possibility of being a quote-unquote fly in the ointment. I don't know. I guess when people talk about fly in the ointment, that used to be one of the smaller conference teams that could kind of sneak into the playoffs. So I don't know if an SEC team would be considered a fly in the ointment the way some people use it, but they are definitely a Cinderella team. They could sneak in, and, for years and years and years, you would hear about quality losses in college basketball. And of course, that's still a very important term, a true term, but now in college football that there's a 12-game playoff. If Vanderbilt keeps this game close and they finish the year with, say, 2 losses, and they got an impressive loss to Alabama, they could definitely be in contention to make the college football playoffs. So they have plenty of motivation to keep it close, and the truth is, even a New Year's Day bowl game would be big for Vanderbilt. So they have plenty of motivation. Now, you could say, conversely, Alabama, before last week, they had some doubters, and people still want to see what Alabama is made out of. So you can kind of see how Alabama might even have a little bit of motivation for statements. But I think you could argue that Vanderbilt has a lot more reason to keep it close than Alabama does to completely blow them out. Now, I told you I like to use some power ratings out there, and a couple of the power ratings. Sportsline has Alabama winning 35-21, covering 58% of their simulations. Massey Ratings has us anywhere from 18 to 18.5 point favorite, with a total of about 58 to 58.5. Some super systems here. Surprising offenses based on delta points scored. That means they average 7 points above their delta points. I'll tell you what the delta points are in a second. But surprising teams go under. Again, there's some regression here in college football. They'll go under 866, 716, and 34. That would favor the Vanderbilt. That system applies to Vanderbilt under. All right, let me give you a quick example. Let's say you got a 10-point favorite and the total is 50. That means the projected points scored for the favorite will be 30. And the projected points scored for the underdog would be 20, or delta points. So if the underdog scores 27 when they're expected to score 20, that would mean they're plus 7 delta points. Now, average that over a full season. And again, Vanderbilt has been a very surprising offense based on delta points, but those teams generally go under because the odds makers usually aren't wrong, and it tends to regress. All right, some other super systems. Go with a road team versus an opponent that ran the ball 26 times or fewer last game is 493, 388, and 21 for 56%, but that increases to 438, 312, and 19% for 19 pushes for 58.4% if the opponent was not leading by more than 24 points in their last game. The opponent being Alabama. So we're fading Alabama, and that would favor Vanderbilt. But it's not like every single super system does favor Vanderbilt. Although this one's actually pretty good. This one's pretty damn good. Going against a team that was ranked in their last game, but not in the top 3. They played another tough opponent, meaning they were not laying more than a field goal. Now, of course, they could have been an underdog. Just means they weren't laying more than a field goal. They could have been a small favorite or an underdog. So therefore, a ranked team was playing another very good team. They're off of the game with a positive turnover margin. They are a fade, a staggering fade of 52-17, 52 and 17. Now, again, if you pay attention to what I said, that's basically a letdown system. It says that Alabama is in a situation prime for a letdown, 52 and 17. I don't use that term very much in professional sports, but in college sports, it is. Now, does everything favor Vanderbilt? Not necessarily. Favorites of 3 or more not on the road in the battle of 2 ranked teams is 390, 284, and 18. That would favor Alabama. And it's slightly better at 59.1% during the regular season. Favorites of 9.5 or more who are not undefeated. They're not undefeated, but they're favorites of 9.5 or more to a team that is undefeated Pretty impressive. 67, 47, and 1 for 58.8%. And because that's kind of consistent with what I've won with over the years in all sports, listen to what the odds makers are telling you. I am going to go with Alabama minus the points. Once again, Alabama minus the points. I don't think it's going to rise quite to the level of premium play because my absolute best stuff, which includes a couple of these systems apply a few times this weekend, has other corroborating data. That's why it's going to rise the level of premium picks. Make sure, and again, Alabama's your free pick, but make sure you get my picks, Joe Duffy's picks, at Picks and Parlays. And I've got some staggering systems in college football and the NFL for this weekend. Hit that like button. Check out this next video.